Hello and welcome to the Night Feed. I'm your host, Charlotte, here to keep you company during, let's face it, one of the toughest parts of being a new parent, the Night Feed. Tonight's unpaid sponsor is breastfeeding a baby whilst putting a 3 and 5-year-old to sleep in a heatwave. Wow, it was hot last week and I was doing bedtime one night. And by doing bedtime, I mean sitting in the girls' bedroom whilst they fall asleep, whilst breastfeeding the baby while he falls asleep. That's our kind of system that works at the moment. And boy, it was hot. It was so hot. And in the heat, they don't want to settle, do they? Kids don't want to settle. I mean, we don't want to settle. It's hard falling asleep. But after about 45 minutes, I just rang Jason. I was like, we got to swap. And yeah, this country, we're not built for the heat, are we? We don't have aircon. We have those rubbish little white fans that blow heat around a room. But it's funny because Jason and I were saying we really should get aircon because our bedrooms are on the top floor, which is kind of like a dorm or extension, if you like. So it's kind of rooms in the roof. And with rooms in the roof, they get pretty cold in icy climates and boiling hot in hot climates, and all the way through the year they're fine, but in the extremes it's extreme. And we were talking about getting aircon, but it's back to rain now and cold. So it's just funny, this country, how 1 minute everyone's talking about getting aircon, the next minute we're all digging our coats back out and umbrellas. So it's like, is it worth it? I think we get a total of, correct me if I'm wrong, 10 to 20 unbearable days a year. That's it then, isn't it? So I don't know if it's a worthy investment. You tell me. I am coming to you tonight hot off the heels of a night of no sleep. And I mean like record breaking no sleep. My baby boy is teething still. He's really going through it. His top front teeth, one of his top front teeth coming through. Oh, the poor thing. He was in agony last night and he didn't want to go to sleep in the evening. So we ended up just keeping him up with us, Jason and I. We were watching Welcome to Wrexham, which is that programme about Ryan Reynolds buying Wrexham. So we just put that on and let him play. And it got to 11 o'clock and he was like still full of beans. We were like, what is going on here? Anyway, went to bed 11:30, finally got him down. And then he was just in pain and it was awful. Like, I gave him his medicine, had to get Jason. I was like, look, you've got to have him for a bit because I'm not sleeping. Then every time I tried to lay him down, he screamed. I think it's because of the pressure when you lie them flat, isn't it, in their mouth. So I ended up for most of the night sitting up with him on me. And you know when you wake up the next morning and you're like, whoa, I've got a parent. And it's like, how am I going to do that? It was tough. But once we dropped the girls off at school, and they were late, we're never late, we live around the corner from school, but it was one of those mornings where it was time to leave and they were still not dressed. They didn't have the hair done. They were still eating their breakfast. I was like in a zombie-like state, as was Jason. And we were just like, let's resign ourselves to the fact today they're going to be a little bit late. And it's not the worst thing in the world, is it? And I have to keep reminding myself that it's not an emergency. It's not an emergency. And you're like running on zero. But once they're in school, I finished the Kylie documentary because I was up watching it one night with the baby at 4 a.m. on another bad night. But I finished the last episode of the Kylie documentary on Netflix. If you haven't watched it and you don't want spoilers, skip ahead as always. But what a woman. What a woman. I was sat watching the end of the last episode, bawling my eyes out this morning at 10 a.m. Oh, poor thing, what she's been through. And the bit that hit me really hard was when she read out the poem to the baby she never had. Oh, God, it makes me cry thinking about it. It was just so beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. You know, she wanted a child. She went through IVF and it hasn't happened for her. And she writes this poem about the child that she never had. oh God. And like when you've had a moment of that morning being all whiny and being all like, oh, can we just get to school? And you think things are bad sometimes, and then you hear something like that and you're like, oh my God, you are so blessed. What are you bloody moaning about? And really like brings you back down to earth, doesn't it? Not that I don't count my blessings every single day for being a mum, but sometimes when you have a reality check like that and you're like, oh my God, she really wanted them and couldn't, and here I am whinging because I didn't get much sleep and we're a bit late for school. It's like, God, have some perspective. But I messaged my mum and she was like, we're all whiny cows now and then, don't worry about it. But in other lovely news, baby boy turned 1 this week, and it's such a milestone one, isn't it? I know a lot of you listeners have babies that are brand new, fresh, newborn little things, and you have all this to come kind of thing, all these different milestones. But I think there's something about it that's a transition from being a baby to a toddler, and it just got me a little bit because I think he's probably going to be our last. And when they turn 1, it's like, wow, he's still a baby. Like, he still looks like a baby, but he's standing now. He took 1 step on his birthday, 1 little step. So he's almost walking, and he's just growing into this little boy with this little personality. And it's so lovely to see. It's a lovely age. It's a tiring age because he's nonstop into everything, but it is a lovely age. And yeah, it's just drinking it all up, isn't it, every minute. But it's funny because the other day I had one of those moments where you just need to go out by yourself. One of them days everyone was a bit on one. Jason had a really busy day at work, I'd had a busy day with the kids, and it was just when you just feel like you're both maxed out and you're not having a minute to reset that nervous system. Because like I said, the baby's teething, so he's pretty much on one of us all the time. And when he's well, he's into the drawers, into the cupboards, trying to pick anything up off the floor. It's at the age where it's very, you can't turn your back for a second. Like when they're, say, I don't know, 6 months and they're just learning to sit, you can position some baby friendly toys around them. You can sip your tea while they play. But now it's like we either barricade him in the room with child friendly things, or he is off climbing the dehumidifier, climbing the pram, trying to get in the washing machine, trying to eat any tiny thing he can find on that floor. So I'm constantly hoovering and just picking him up a lot. So Jason came in that night and said, should we get fish and chips tonight? I was like, oh yes, let's do that. Don't want to cook. None of us wants to cook. So I'm like, right, Mum's going to the fish and chip shop. See you in a minute. I was like, I need to get out. And my 3-year-old was like, can I come? And I was like, no, Mummy's going out by herself. It's adults only in the fish and chip shop. And I don't know where that came from. I was just like, it's adults only in there. She was like, why is it adults only? I was like, well, the fish is very hot and the chips are very hot and it's just too hot in there. And I went out by myself, music blasting, got the fish and chips, and was fine again when I came home. Sometimes you just need a blast of music in the car when you're only responsible for yourself for 15 minutes, half an hour, when you can stand alone and just worry about your own safety, no one else's, and come back all reset. So yeah, all these little white lies. I don't like telling white lies, but sometimes for your self-preservation, you just got to tell the white lie. We went away last week, and I do have to apologise because I didn't record an episode while we were away. I had every intention of pre-recording an episode, but some weeks when you're going on holiday, you just need a minute and a break. And I had so much to do with packing, and it's like when you go away with babies, there's a lot to remember. But we had a lovely time. We went to South Wales with Jason's family during the heat wave. So it's like being abroad almost. And it was great. It was really, really nice. We had a great week, and it has its challenges, of course, traveling with children in a car in a heat wave. But apart from that, it was lovely. And I had some lovely emails while I was away. And one of them is from a lovely listener called Vicky, who has emailed in before, actually. And it was just such a coincidence because her question was, she said, I wondered what your top tips were for holidays with a baby, either abroad or in the UK. And I thought, well, there we go. What a great segue into the listener emails, because we have literally just returned. Now, Vicky's asked for tips for going either abroad or in the UK. We've never been abroad with the children yet. And that's mainly because we had 18 months between our first two, the first one was born in COVID and the second one was born quite quickly. And then we had a gap where Jason and I went abroad by ourselves for 3 nights to Mallorca, which was incredible. And if you can do that, if you have in-laws or parents who will look after your babies or children for a couple of nights, I highly recommend it. It was just the reset we needed. And then we had the baby boy. So we've not really had that window of opportunity, and we've not wanted to take them away, to be honest, by ourselves. I think taking 3, 5 and under abroad, just the two of us, would be borderline mental right now. I struggle in the heat. I've got Irish fair skin and I love it, don't get me wrong, but after an hour or two I am ready to go into the shade, and the thought of running around after very young children in the heat is just not what I really fancy doing. And I always used to listen to Parenting Hell with Josh Widdicombe and Rob Beckett, and they always say, don't go away until your youngest is 4. And I kind of have heeded that advice, really. Now, my parents, we were talking about going away with them, and that's kind of the only way we would go away is if they came with us. It's just an extra pair of hands. You can then be man on man with the children, and at least one of you can have a break between that. But yeah, Jason and I, we went abroad by ourselves, and that was great. It was cocktails, sun, chill, just what we needed. Mallorca from the UK is only like 2-hour flight, I think. So it was just ideal. Highly recommend that. Like I said, if you have the family that can help out. It did feel strange going to a different country, I can't lie, even though they are 100% great with my mum and dad, and I wasn't concerned in that sense. But being abroad from the children, that was strange, but I knew it was great for them. I knew it was great for us, and yeah, I do recommend that if you can. Tips for traveling with young children and babies in the UK. Number 1, I have to say, travel at nap time. Travel at nap time, and that will make the journey so much easier. So we went to South Wales, which from Manchester is about 3.5 hours non-stop. But when you have babies, you have to stop, obviously. But the baby went down for his nap as we set off, and he slept for 2.5 hours in the car. So Jason just kept going. He was like, let's get past Birmingham. If you can get past Birmingham on our journey, you're winning, because that's where all the build-up is every time. I don't know what it is, but Birmingham traffic is extraordinary. Like, I don't think I've ever been through it and not been in traffic. But anyway, we got past Birmingham. We got down to Strensham Services. If you know, that's kind of as you hit in the M5 towards Cornwall. But obviously we're coming off at South Wales. That made the journey so much easier. So yeah, absolutely go around nap time. Number 2 is, we stayed in a hotel this time, which was very child friendly. It had a pool, it's great. But if you're going away for more than a few days, I would actually recommend an Airbnb, purely because you've got the kitchen facility. So in the hotel, lovely, but you have to get room service or eat in the restaurant every time you want to eat. I took a few bits and bobs with us that we could snack on in the hotel, but I think if you're going for longer than, say, 2 or 3 days, I would highly recommend getting getting accommodation with a kitchen. I would also recommend staying somewhere not too far from a supermarket or from like a soft play, or somewhere you can kind of take the kids if you need something to do. Like, it can rain in the UK, and I think if you're staying somewhere where you just in because of the weather, then it can make it a bit cooped. So I always try and have a look at where we're staying and see if we can find like a play cafe or a soft play or a garden centre or an attraction where we can go that, if it rains, basically. Always the other usual stuff like extra outfits for the car journey, lots of water, lots of drinks for the car journey. I keep focusing on the car journey because I think going away in the UK, that's the hardest part. It's the journey. If you get stuck in traffic, if you get, I don't know, whatever, it can make it stressful. So I think my advice is just making the car journey the least stressful thing. Now, we had our 5-year-old in the front to be for the past few months because she's now 5. She can go in the front because we couldn't find a booster seat that would go in between the baby car seat and our 3-year-old's car seat. This is such a struggle. Now, we have an SUV, so it's not a particularly small car. So what was happening is our oldest was going in the front, and either Jason or I would go in the middle between 2 car seats, which is a squeeze. So I found a booster seat that would go in the middle that was suitable for our eldest. So that was great, going down whilst the baby was asleep. However, when he woke, as long-time listeners will know, even though he's getting better in the car seat, he doesn't love it. So we came to like the last, 20 minutes of the journey, and he was losing it. Now, my girls were happy just to sit in the car. They didn't have a screen, and they didn't ask for it. So I thought, well, I'm not going to give it them if they haven't asked for it. They had a little like travel pack of, popper things, and it was kind of like chill. And my 3-year-old slept at one point, but the last 20 minutes of that journey, he lost it. And we were stuck in traffic, so we couldn't really do anything. So there I was in the front seat, bent backwards like a contortionist, with my phone playing that Five Little Ducks song on YouTube. You'll know the one I mean. On repeat, because that's the only thing he'll watch. It's quite interesting, really, because whenever I needed 5 minutes to like run to the loo when the girls were tiny, I would put on the dancing fruit. 5 minutes, I can go to the loo, they're not distressed, put them in the bouncer seat, all good. I would try that with our youngest, and he goes mad state. He's not bothered by the screen at all. It's not like he doesn't get hooked into it. And I know that's not what you want to encourage, but when you need 5, don't you? But the only thing that distracts him is that Five Little Ducks. So there I was, bent over double, because obviously he's still facing backwards, like a contortionist, holding my arm for the last 10 minutes of the journey, 20 minutes of the journey, to calm him down. And it did soothe him, but my God, my arm. So yeah, that was interesting. But I'm just trying to think of anything else that made the holiday easier. Yeah, Airbnbs are great with kitchens. Obviously, making the journey as easy as you can. Take fewer toys than you think. I actually think with this one, novelty beats quantity. Like, we had those little popper toys for the girls, even like masking tape and stickers and little snack boxes that you can bring out and drip feed to keep the novelty going. I'm not saying buy loads of new toys. I'm just saying like different little things that maybe they've not seen for months that you can get out for them. Like even babies, it works with babies as well, like different books they've not seen, different toys they've not seen. Maybe, I think at one point he was holding a tennis ball and that was just really bright and different for him. So yeah, I suppose keep them things going like that. And try and keep bedtime kind of familiar. Like that can be really difficult. And one thing I would say is don't stress about it, because on previous holidays with the kids, I've been a bit like, right, we need to stick to bedtime, we need to black the windows out as much as we can. And it's like that causes more stress. So this time and the few times before, we've just all gone to bed at the same time. And yes, it means that you don't get to stay up and watch something, or, order room service together. And if your baby will go down in a travel cot, then great, crack on. But ours all kind of settled when we did. So routine goes out the window a little bit. In fact, there was 2 nights where Jason and I got about 12 hours sleep because we just went to bed with the kids, which was amazing. I felt amazing after that amount of sleep. So yeah, I hope that helps a little bit. If anyone else has some tips on travel in the UK or abroad, please write in and I will read them out next week. Next email says, "Hey Charlotte, I don't know if it's just me, but this heat wave has sent my anxiety through the roof. Every night I'm Googling ideal baby room temperature, what tog sleeping bag in 24 degrees, can babies overheat in prams, and then somehow ending up in a forum where someone says their baby slept in a vest and another one says they needed a fan, and it's so confusing. We live in a top floor flat that turns into the surface of the sun by bedtime, and I'm finding myself obsessively touching my baby's chest every 20 minutes to check that she's not too warm. Please tell me I'm not the only mum spiralling over room temperatures and tog guides this week. A very sweaty and sleep-deprived mum." Well, as you heard at the opening part of this podcast, you are absolutely not the only mum panicking and stressing about heat. As I said earlier, this country's not built for heat in those excessive temperatures. I think it was 30 degrees last week, which for us is extortionately hot. In other countries, I was chatting to a mum friend who is from a hot country originally, and I said, "How do you guys cope?" Like, and she's like, "Well, it's made for heat. We have aircon everywhere. You go inside, you got aircon." Whereas in the UK, you come inside, you've not got aircon, you've got a fan that does nothing. And it is a bit worrying when you're not used to it. My advice is always just dress them in less. As we know, it's far more dangerous for a baby to overheat than it is for them to be a bit chilly. And in a heat wave, they're not going to be chilly. Now, I co-sleep with my baby boy, so he was just in his nappy in those few crazy hot days and nights. As with the girls, they were just in their knickers and vest. I just keep them as cool as I can. Fans can be dangerous with babies. I know that if they're positioned near them, so that's definitely something you need to think about if you're going to use a fan in the baby's room. And yeah, just like you were doing, checking them. I mean, you don't need to be obsessive about it. I think if the baby is overly uncomfortable, they let you know, don't they? They cry, they murmur. But ideally, keeping the room temperature as low as you can. Now, you're in a flat on the top floor, like our bedrooms are on the top floor. It does get hot, and I completely get your concerns, but I would get a good thermometer for your room. I know a lot of baby monitors have thermometers on them now anyway, don't they? So you can kind of gauge how hot it is. And if in doubt, I just let them sleep in their nappy. I know when we had our second baby, it went to 40 degrees that summer, and we were upstairs in this house, so we were in that room, and again it was just a nappy. And it's hard because when you've got a brand new newborn, people are telling you like, oh, they can get cold because they've just come out of the womb, they have to wear a hat in the hospital, and then all of a sudden you put them in a nappy at home and it's like, oh my god. But I'd always advise to go on the NHS website or whatever health website you have in your country, check their recommendations. And you know in your gut as a mum, if the baby's too hot, you can kind of sense it. So just keep them as cool as you can by keeping them in as fewer layers as you can. I didn't use a sleeping bag. I haven't used a sleeping bag with my baby boy. I tell you, I haven't used one much. And I think when it's absolutely boiling, I wouldn't advise a sleeping bag. But that's just me as a mum. I'm not a healthcare professional, so take whatever I say with a pinch of salt. But you're not alone in stressing with a heat wave. You're absolutely not alone. Err on the side of keeping them cool rather than layering them up is my advice. I hope that helps. Okay, final email this week says, "Hey Charlotte, I think I'm quietly quitting parenting advice. Not actual parenting, obviously, just the constant stream of advice surrounding it. I'm sorry if I'm speaking really quick tonight. I've had another coffee too late in the day and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, when my baby was born, I downloaded all the apps. I tracked feeds, nappies, naps, wake windows, milestones, tummy time, ounces, minutes slept. Honestly, if someone had created an app to track how many times I blinked, I probably would have used that too. At first, it felt reassuring, but lately I've realised I've spent more time analysing my baby than actually enjoying them. I deleted them after listening to you talk about how 90s were the last present generation of mums, and I deleted all my social media apps too. My brain genuinely feels clear in the best way possible. Just wanted to share in case it helps another mum. Lucy." Thank you for writing in, Lucy. And this is great advice for brand new mums. I downloaded a few of those apps when I had my first, and you do obsess with it. And it just isn't what you need, is it? I think you start comparing, you start panicking, you start worrying, you start thinking, is it right? Is it wrong? And you're tracking feed, you're tracking this. And it can be so overwhelming that you do forget to enjoy the moment. So great that you've deleted them. As for social media, I haven't been on it for 2 weeks, I think, 3 weeks. I deleted all my apps and it feels amazing. I haven't missed it. It's the weirdest thing because when I've done it in the past, I've always been a bit like, oh, I'll go on TikTok to post my podcast and I end up going on the feed and then it's like one thing leads to another and I'm on it again. And I haven't been on there to post my podcast, which isn't great because I do need to keep promoting it. But I've enjoyed just stepping away, not thinking about it, not compulsively picking up my phone. You sat in a room and you see your phone, you pick it up because it's there. It's like, what am I going on? And I'm doing it more and more at the moment where I'm like, I just keep putting it down. Like, you don't need to check your emails. You don't need to go on any news website right now. I don't have my social media apps. So it's kind of made my phone boring. And it's really great. And I'm glad that your brain feels clear as well, because so does mine. And long-time listeners will know where I stand on social media. I just think it's so destructive for us. But I'm glad you feel better for it. And yeah, any posts like this, any emails like this, any stories, keep them coming in. I love hearing from you all. And I always reply to you all, even if I don't read every email out on the podcast. So keep your letters coming in and let me know your tips, your tricks, your stories, your hacks, your questions. Always glad to hear from you. Next tonight is what's trending. And what's trending this week is something that people online are calling Mommymaxxing. And to be honest, when I first heard that phrase, I physically recoiled a bit because it's kind of this idea that modern motherhood has become this giant optimization project, which is kind of what the last listener was talking about with all those apps. You've got your perfect routine, sleep, your perfect sensory trays, perfect lunch boxes, perfect bounce back body, perfect tidy playroom with wooden toys that somehow cost more than than a first car. It's just crazy. And mums are starting to say that they can't do it anymore. And there's this growing backlash online now against pressure to constantly improve every area of motherhood, like it's some kind of product and project, instead of just a tired mum trying to keep a tiny baby alive on no sleep. Because somewhere along the line, motherhood stopped being enough on its own. You know, being a mum is the most important job you'll ever do. Hands down, isn't it? So why is it that we're trying to optimize it and trying to do a million things at once and trying to make it even better than it is? And it's like, of course it's causing overwhelm, you know. Apparently we're meant to stimulate the baby correctly, we're meant to heal correctly, we're meant to feed correctly, dress a certain way, you know, document these memories in a certain way, keep the house calm, keep the house clean, limit screen time, maintain friendships, do exercises, drink enough. It's just like, oh my God, leave us alone, you know? And it's just like this kind of competitive wellness retreat that nobody remembers signing up for, I think, sometimes. And this relates to this term Mommymaxxing. And it's part of the reason I've come off social media, really, because like I said a few weeks ago, the 90s mum was the last present mum, according to this thing on social media. You know, it's kind of, we're comparing. Are we doing it right? Are we doing this right? Are we doing it wrong? And I think being a mum, full stop, is incredible. Like, being a mum, keeping your baby safe, keeping your baby healthy, keeping yourself healthy is a big enough job as it is. And I think the thing is a lot of mums are starting to realise this constant optimisation is actually stealing the joy from motherhood itself, because when every moment becomes something to improve or track or perfect, you stop living it. And you stop sitting on the floor laughing with your baby because you're wondering if this activity is developmentally enriching enough, you know? So I think a lot of people are exhausted by it. And I personally don't buy into a lot of it. I kind of seek through it. I kind of seek through all the, you need this Montessori toy, you need that toy, and you need this thing to develop. And I've watched my kids develop great on my kind of gut. And I've gone with what my mum did, and I've gone with what other people around me are doing. And that's been enough for me. I know that I am doing my best for my kids. And I think if you know that, then it doesn't matter if you don't cut the sandwiches into stars when they're weaning, you know? There's a huge shift happening now towards slower motherhood. We know that, towards kind of analog motherhood, less pressure, less performing, less trying to turn family life into some kind of productivity challenge. More like my baby watched Hey Dougie while I drank a hot tea and survived, you know, which I think sounds great. And I think the less pressure we put on ourselves, the happier we are. No wonder so many mums have got postpartum anxiety. And I'm not saying that's just because of the pressures around social media and the media in general, but there's so much, isn't there? There's so much noise. And the more we can step away from it and just think, yeah, our baby is doing great, we are doing great, then that's what matters. So yeah, I hope that helps. Let me know what you think about Mommymaxxing. Do you think it's a trend that is coming to an end? I also think social media is going to look very different in a few years. I think more and more people are stepping away from it, using it differently. And I think that will have a big impact on how we parent as well. And I think I'm really interested to see how it all changes, and how hopefully our children see right through that crap. But, you know, we can hope. My self-care tip tonight is to go to bed earlier. It's a boring one. It's a really boring one. But it is easy to stay up and watch another episode. It's easy to stay up and do random tasks when actually going to bed an hour earlier than you usually would can save you sanity sometimes. And take that from a woman who slept for probably about an hour 40 last night and who is slurring her words right now because she is so tired. I was nearly falling asleep at the dinner table, and that doesn't happen ever. As a mum of 3, I can get by on limited sleep, but I looked at myself in the mirror before And I thought, you look that tired, you look like you've aged. I'm like, I need to start looking after myself more. So I'm going to start going to sleep earlier. I've talked about this in the podcast before. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but if you can go to bed a bit earlier, you'll feel so much better. And I'm telling myself this right now. But yeah, that's my self-care tip, is just to try and get as much more sleep as you possibly can, and you will feel much better for it. Thank you for listening tonight. Thank you for being here as always. Apologies that I missed last week. I don't like missing any, but I was on holiday. We all need a holiday. And keep your emails coming in. I love writing back to you and having conversations with all of you that write in. And yeah, share this where you can. That would help me a lot. And I wish you all a restful, peaceful night ahead. Good night.